Welcome back. So today we're going to do a quick preview looking at the two games that's going to be happening tomorrow. Before tomorrow, I will do the 11 other games that's going to be happening on Wednesday, as we're once again going to have a full slate of midweek action in match week number 19. But in terms of these two games, both of these are late West Coast game, and both of them are kicking off at the same time. And one of them, I of course am going to attend because that's the one where the Quakes are playing at home. But first, let's talk about the Galaxy versus the Colorado Rapids. The Galaxy, of course, an 11-2-6 record, while the Rapids a 9-4-4 record. This game, of course, will start at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. The Galaxy, of course, have been one of the hotter team in the league after winning 3 out of their last 4 games. While the Rapids, they won 3-1 on the road against the Houston Dynamo. And the key points for the Galaxy is, can they continue to put pressure on the top 2 team in MLS with a win? Because they once again can get a win in this game, they will be able to be at the top of the Western Conference, albeit it will only be for one day. At least this time, it's going to be longer than what they did over the weekend, where they were at the top of the Western Conference for a couple of hours before SKC did get a victory to get themselves back at the top of the standings. And for Colorado, can they continue this strong roll for them? So it's hard to believe, but you know how I talked about a couple of years where the Rapids have always been a team that struggle on the road and are just one of these teams that had this problem. This year, that has not been a problem whatsoever. I mean, they have won 4 games so far on the road and won 4 out of the 7 games that they have on the road. And when you have that good of a road record, or actually no, it's 4 out of 8 games, but they only lost 3 so far this season. And when you have a road record of 4-3-1, that is a very respectable road record and is unsurprising a road record that gets a team into the top 4 of the Western Conference. And the Rapids, even though they are still away in terms of trying to challenge the top 3 in the Western Conference, this is kind of a game where they could maybe have that conversation and maybe try to sneak into that conversation of trying to challenge for the top 3 spot in the Western Conference. And indeed, I think this is probably one of the toughest games that the Rapids are going to be playing on the road. Now, the last time they did play against a top 3 team in the West, which was against SKC, that did not end up well. So we'll see whether or not if they can do so against this Galaxy team that, again, even without Chicharito, they somehow are still finding ways to win games and are really trying to be the team that maybe can get into everybody's minds that maybe the Galaxy are indeed back, and that they are indeed back to a team that people should fear them as an MLS Cup contender. But moving on into the last game in terms of the Tuesday action is none other than the Blues Knot Derby, also known as the Trap Game Derby, because both of these teams are kind of playing a trap game in this one, with the Quakes, playing a trap game against Minnesota, because they know in 3 days' time they're going to be playing against the Galaxy in the Cali Classico. And anytime when the Quakes play against the Galaxy in the Cali Classico, that is a huge game for the Quakes and also for the fans. But for Minnesota, they also are kind of playing a trap game too, because after this game they will return back to St. Paul. And obviously I'm not happy whatsoever with the schedule maker of the fact that why in the world did they decide to schedule them on a game at home on the weekends and then go on the road in the middle of the week only to go back at home to basically play against SKC. Like, if you're going to kind of schedule that kind of pattern, why don't you just kind of put them on the road and put them maybe a couple of games on the road before coming back to Minnesota? But before I get into that ramblings about the problematic traveling schedule, the thing that the Loons also are going to be dealing with in these next couple of games is that they're going to be on the road for a lot. I think their next 4 out of their next 5 games, or actually no, I think it was 3 out of their next 4 game is actually going to be on the road, and that of course includes this one. But in terms of this game, it's kicked off at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff time, like the last one, kicks off at 7:38 p.m. local time. The Quakes, of course, have the longest unbeaten run in MLS at 8 games, and that their record is 5-7-7. But despite the fact they have the longest unbeaten run, they have drawn a lot of games during this unbeaten run, and this is kind of the reason why this team is not above the red line right now. Like, yes, it's impressive, the fact that the Quakes have gone this long unbeaten. Like, I don't remember the last time the Quakes have ever gone this unbeaten. Like, not even during the year when the Quakes were at least decent, they've never went this long without losing a game. Whereas for Minnesota, they have only won once so far on the road this season, and the road has definitely not been a friend for the Loons this season. Although they have picked up a couple of draws so far on the road this year, and in some way it should be 2 road wins this season because of the certain game against the Vancouver Whitecaps, of course, happened. And yes, I'm still mentioning that game, even though I know I probably should not mention that game anymore. I should kind of move on from it, but still one of the things that I kind of want to mention that kind of ticks me off a little bit. But in terms of the key points coming into this game for both of these teams, for the Quakes, can the Quakes actually get more wins in this unbeaten run? And that, as I mentioned, this is what's holding back this team in terms of trying to get themselves above the red line. I mean, I said it before where, it's great to draw games because, you don't, of course, have to draw all 3 points. And you have a chance to start an unbeaten run. But if you start to draw a lot of games, it also doesn't help you in terms of trying to rise up in the table. And that, it's kind of frustrating. The fact that I want to be happy with the longest unbeaten run the Quakes have been having for a very long time, and yet a lot of those games were a draw, and that's really kind of prevent this team to go above the red line. Although if they do win this game, they would temporarily get above the red line for the first time ever since May. Now for Minnesota, who will step up on the attack now that Robin Lod will be out for a couple of weeks? So it was announced today that Robin Lod is going to be out a couple of weeks, and that is a devastating blow for the Loons, and especially on the attack, because Lod has no doubt been really the only guy on this attack that has been consistently scoring goals. And when you take out your most consistent goal scorer on a team, I am really starting to be very worried about this team on the attack. I mean, I already was worried about this team with the way that they've been struggling to score goals so far this season, but now I'm even more worried now that we have our difference maker out for a couple of weeks. And this is a time where some of these guys on the attack, they need to, of course, step up. One guy that came into my mind immediately is Adrian Hunou. I mean, I talk about how in the preview how disappointed I have been with him, with only scoring 1 goal in his 6th game and have just not got it going whatsoever. Well, this is really the time that he needs to get going, because if he does not get going, and if any of these Loons players doesn't start scoring goals, this could be a really problematic time for this team, and especially knowing the fact that they're going to be on the road for a bit in these next couple of games. I mean, yes, they are in 5th in the Western Conference, and yes, you would think that's a comfortable spot to be in the playoffs, but then you just realize that they're only 3 points above the red line, and that if the results start to turn against this team and they go on a little bit of a winless run in these next couple of games, this team can quickly fall out of the playoff picture. And it will be disappointed that of course would be the case, because of all the good work that they've been doing ever since they had horrid 0-4 start. It has now been undone because of the fact that they're starting to lose games and just aren't able to score enough goals, and kind of almost having an Austin FC kind of problem where they just do not have enough goals scored to propel this team to get victory. But again, we shall see who, of course, will get a big win coming into this game to hope to propel in terms of their weekend's matchup. That is a much important matchup, and hence that's why I call this a trap game for both of these teams. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Like I said, it was a relatively quick video because there's only 2 games to preview. But tomorrow the video is going to be much longer because we got 11 games that we're going to talk about that happen on the more busy Wednesday action of the midweek action of match week number 19. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 2 games. And as always, let me know in the comments below your prediction for both of these games that's going to happen tomorrow. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.